What's going on, YouTube? This is Eric with SweetSpotDFS, and welcome to my DFS preview for the 2022 Houston Open. In this video, I'm going to go over some general tournament information, look at some grass stats, and then get into the past optimal lineups and the bucket system. Because what we're trying to do is build the optimal lineup, and those pieces are really good foundational pieces in order to build the optimal lineup. So if you want to see everything I'll be covering in this video, I have timestamps in the description below. You can also find those timestamps on YouTube's progress bar. All you gotta do is hover over the progress bar. You'll see them there. Usually from here, I'd go into giveaways, the giveaway information, but I want to provide a little bit of news. So next week, I won't be doing a preview, a strategy, or a prize picks video, and I won't be doing a review video for this tournament or the next tournament. This is primarily because I'm going to have surgery. I'm going to have some dental work done. So I'm guessing I'm not going to be healed by any of those days. So I'm just going to call off my normal schedule that happens. I will try to provide some information like through Twitter, maybe through Instagram if any of you guys are following me there. But yeah, no videos because I doubt I'll be able to talk normal. And I'm probably going to be in a little bit of pain. So just giving you an idea, just letting you guys know, no videos next week. So what that means is the RSM Classic is the last tournament until after the new year that the PGA Tour will have an event. Meaning there's going to be like a month and a half where we won't be doing any, PGA Tour event related stuff. Now, if my mouth heals up and I'm able to do like extra things, I have some videos that I want to do that pertain to just DFS golf and fantasy, fantasy golf related. So we'll talk about strokes gained. I'll do another strokes gained video. I need to recap or refresh the bucket system, so I'll just do like a second video for that. The more that I've been doing this, the easier it is to explain. I think that first one was pretty chopped up, so we'll probably create a second one on that. And then I think I want to just go into like a long list of videos, starting with whether or not driving distance matters, strokes gained approach, kind of diving into the strokes gained stats, stuff like that. So that's what I want to do. But also that time for me is basically key time for me to build my database. That's been on my mind. That is one of the goals. If you remember the channel update that I had at the beginning of this PGA season, that is a goal to build this database because I want it to be the engine behind my website. And that's the other goal, is to get the website published out there for you guys to use. So I'm pretty excited for this upcoming. I'm not excited for the surgery, but I'm excited for the rest of it. So that's enough with the news. Again, no video next week. Okay. A reminder, we've got giveaways. $10 giveaway. It's a subscriber giveaway. We need to get to 275 subscribers. We have 257. This reminds me, you see the information over here. The subs, the new subscriber, top commenter. If you don't see your name as the new subscriber, it's primarily because you don't allow your information to be shared on YouTube. So if you've subscribed to my channel and you're the last one, I don't get alerted and I can't see who my most recent one is unless you share that information. So I do want to reward you guys, give you guys some recognition for subscribing and being a top commenter, but I need to see that information in order to recognize you guys. So either way, subscriber giveaway, got to hit the goal of 275 subscribers. By the time I do the review video, I already told you I'm not doing a review video, but I still hold the giveaway at the end of the week. So come around Sunday around 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will look to see if the subscriber amount has been reached or the goal has been reached. If it has, I'll run a giveaway. Maybe I'll record it. We'll see. I won't have my face on the video if I do. But yeah, let's hit that 275 subscriber mark. And if you want an entry into it, you got to be subscribed. You got to comment below. Let's see. What do I want? What should the topic be? Comment your favorite 8K golfer, because I think we're going to need one in the optimal lineup this week. So we'll look at some of the 8K golfers. You tell me who your favorite one is. That'll get you a free entry into this giveaway. If you want an additional one, share this on Twitter. So when I post the video, just share that tweet that I send or retweet it. That'll get you an additional entry into the giveaway. And that's all you got to do. The second giveaway that I have is a Prize Picks giveaway. I'm giving out $20 to any new sign up using the promo code SweetSpot and putting a minimum deposit of $20 in. So again, I always explain it this way. If you sign up and you put a minimum deposit of $20, $25, whatever ends up, whatever the minimum is on Prize Picks, you have a chance to win $20 for me, meaning you're going to play Prize Picks for free. Furthermore, Prize Picks is going to match your deposit. So it's going to double your money. So if you do win this giveaway and you only put in $20, $25, you're basically going to be playing Prize Picks for free and you're going to have $40 to your account. So very simple. Sign up using the promo code SweetSpot. Link is in the description below. That's all I have for giveaways. We're already 7 minutes into this. Let's cruise through this video. General tournament information. We have a new sponsor, the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Houston Open. It's another mouthful, just like the Mayakoba Championship last week. We're just going to call this the Houston Open. So any research you guys are doing, it used to be called the Shell Houston Open and then was just the Houston Open. I actually forgot what it was called last year. Either way, Houston Open is what you want to be researching when looking for data for this. There's 132 players in this field. Again, just like every single tournament that has a cut, it's top 65 in ties. Your average winning score was -16 for this tournament. There is something to note, and I'll actually get to it when I get into the course information. It's primarily, you guys probably already know this. The tournament, or this golf course, was played last year for the first time, so we only have 1 year of data. That average winning score is actually taking into all tournaments dating back to 2013. So whether it's relevant or not to you guys, that's up to you. Average cut score is around even, 100 even. The strength of field this week is 338. Last week was 355, maybe 356, if my memory serves me correct. So a little bit of a weaker field, but not by much. We still have a pretty decent field this week. Weather, we're looking Thursday, Friday around 74, 75 degrees, and wind around 10 to 15 on Thursday, 5 to 10 on Friday. I'm recording this on a Monday night. That information is subject to change, obviously, just like all weather. Highly encourage you guys to go look at windfinder.com the day before this tournament starts, just to get a good idea, because it goes by 3-hour increments of what the forecasted wind is going to be. Very, very helpful tool, very helpful website. Go check it out. And if not, go to weather.com. Just any weather, it won't matter. Just to get you guys a general sense of what the weather's going to be like. We're at Memorial Park Golf Course. The architect is John Bredemis. I should have put this on here. There was a renovation by Tom Doak with the help of Brooks Koepka. So Brooks Koepka is in this field. He played here last year and finished top 5, I think. So, you can use that however you want. We'll get into Brooks Koepka a little bit later. But we only have 1 year of data at this event. And it seemed like, we have 1 year of data for this golf course at this event. And it seemed like last year it was a tough golf course. I think, let me double check. I think Carlos Ortiz had a really good Sunday. He shot 65 in round 4. Actually, there was a lot of low scores Sunday. So I think the first 3 days it was a little tough. Carlos Ortiz won this at 13 under last year. Again, shot that 65. It's a par 70, so that's still 5 under, still pretty good. But I think what I remember, and maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, is this golf course was pretty tough for the first 3 days. I think we could probably see a cut around 1 over par, maybe even 1 over par, and probably a winning score just north of 10 under. I'm thinking somewhere between 10 to 12 under. Now, the wind is going to have to pick up in order to keep this course a little tougher. If the wind isn't, blowing whatsoever, then I could see a winning score being like minus 15, minus 16. So regardless of any of this information, looking at the entirety of the Houston Open, actually, I'll pull this up, but I'll pull up past results here shortly. But let me just finish this first. The golf course, par 70, yardage 7,400 yards. So when you look at yards per par, this is actually a long golf course. It's like 106 yards per par. This is probably in the top 20 of distance per par on the PGA Tour. So it's kind of a long golf course for its par. It's all on Bermuda. There's mini Verde, Bermuda greens, and the rest are Tiff Eagle. I wouldn't get wrapped up. If you do have that research capability to see what different strain of Bermuda, go for it. Who cares? Mini Verde greens, do your strokes and putting looking at that grass. Tiff Eagle, Bermuda, look at your fairways, your approach stats, your around the green stats, that kind of stuff. And when it comes to shot shaping, off the tee, looks like, 5 holes kind of require a little bit of shaping. And then into the green, so on approach, we have 8 holes where it looks like you need a little bit of shot shaping skills in order to get some of your approach shots close. And if you want to default on one of the shot shapes, I would go with a fade. Obviously, you see there's more instances where a fade is required. I still would think a golfer who can shape it both directions is going to have the best ability here. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get into looking at past results. So if we look all the way across, if you look at the top 3 golfers, you're going to see throughout this tournament, like 2018 was a little bit different. 19 under won it. Same with 2017 where 20 under won it. Or you're going to see like 13, 14 under being your winning score and your first, second, third place. I think the Golf Club of Houston that hosted this event, from 2020 back to 2013, just prior to last year, I think it has a little bit of similarities. Like if the wind is blowing, this course is tough. I will say the Golf Club of Houston was usually a soggier track, and it was played right before the Masters just about every single year except for when it made its change from 2018 to 2020. That's when it went to the fall swing events. Obviously, we're in the year of 2021, but this is the 2022 tournament. So if you think about it, in 2020, in 2019, this tournament was going towards the 2020 season. So we haven't missed a year of playing this tournament, although it looks like there's a bit of a skip there. It just went from right before the Masters in 2018 to the fall season of 2020, which is in the year 2019. I think during this time of the year, it's not as wet. It was a little bit firm. So I could see, the course playing a little tougher. I only wanted to bring this up because I think you could use the rest of the Houston Open as kind of a litmus test, or just a little bit, you're probably getting the same types of golfers here. So is this, an event that the cream rises to the top? Is this an event where you might get some of the lesser known players playing better? I think you can look at that information. So I think you can look at tournament information, or tournament history, I should say, Obviously, that's a replacement for course history because we have multiple golf courses to look at. I think you can look at that stuff. Honestly, I think you can. That's all that I wanted to talk about when it comes to past results. We are on Bermuda greens, so let's go ahead and just look at Bermuda stats in this field. I just want to go over this quickly. I don't want to spend too much time. So basically what I'm going to do is just sort this by the best golfer in the field to the worst golfer, and really just wanting you guys to look at the top 20. Now, we have a few guys up here with very limited events under their belt. Why don't we go ahead and remove anybody who has less than 4 events? So we get rid of those guys. Here's your top 20 overall Bermuda dating back to 2013. These are your top 20 golfers right here, led by Scotty Scheffler, and then Christian Bezuidenhout, Jason Day, Sung J M, Adam Scott. You can read the rest of the guys. Brandt Snedeker's, Jimmy Walker's number 20 on my list. So yeah, you can do with this however you'd like. There's some notable golfers in here that we'll go over a little bit later. I mean, you've got Brooks Koepka in the top 20 at Bermuda Stats here, Patrick Reed, Henrik Stenson, Ryan Palmer. You guys can see the list. Now, when it comes to top 10 success rates, Koepka's your best guy here or in the field, followed by Jason Day. Now, if I'm going to let me be quick on Jason Day. I don't trust how he's been playing. And if you've watched any of my videos, I've basically been off of this guy since 2 years ago. I don't remember what tournament it was, but there just isn't a trust level that I think we can go with Jason Day because of, I'm going to use this word in multiple different ways. It's a good word. It's going to sound weird to some of you guys who aren't gamers, but he's a bit squishy. And I think it's a good play on words too, because he's a little bit chubbier than he used to be. But squishy meaning like he can break at any moment. Like he has a lot of potential. He can shoot really low, but he also has issues with injuries. So Jason Day isn't one that I really would trust, but if you wanted to play him in a GPP because he has the capability of playing really well, go for it. Just not for me. I'm staying away from Jason Day until he can prove to me he can play all 4 rounds without limping, without dropping down to the ground. I just is sad and is whatever you want to call it. I just can't trust him. So that's my take on Jason Day. I'm probably not going to talk about him the rest of the week, honestly. Patrick Reed, Tyrrell Hatton, Henrik Stenson, Mark Leishman. A lot of guys here with 20% or better success rate on Bermuda tracks, finishing inside the top 10. So you can see the guys here on the screen. Scotty Scheffler is our 20th ranked guy. Yeah, do with that as you will. And then our best 2021 Bermuda stats. This actually includes 2 events here in 2022 that had Bermuda stats, like the Sanderson Farms. I can't remember what the other one was, but that is included in the stats. Tyrrell Hatton's your best guy in the field, followed by Joaquin Niemann, Cameron Smith, Scotty Scheffler, Charlie Hoffman. You can read the rest of the list. So those are your best Bermuda golfers in the field. I'm going to open this back up. Probably just sort by salaries. That way we can be ready when we talk about the buckets. But what I want to go from here is looking at past optimal lineups. So this will float into our buckets. We're going to look at past optimal lineups and then into our salaries. We're going to start here in 2017. We had salary stats. We had DraftKings contests, I should say. Your optimal lineup, 49,700, and it was the top 6 golfers. 3 8K golfers, a 10K, a 7, and a 6K. So just giving you a little idea how to build lineups this week. Start here in 2017. Go to 2018. In 2018, we left $2,200 on the table. So I built a realistic optimal. And if you see this throughout the rest of the years that I'll be looking at, it's because the optimal is too low. If you recall, I require 49,000 and above for me to even, consider building. Okay, so first of all, it has to be 49,000 and above, and all 6 golfers have to be inside the top 10. So that's how I build my realistic optimal lineups. It's just the easier way when we look at the bucket system, as it only analyzes the top 10. I don't want to look at anyone outside of the top 10. There will be years where we can't actually grab all 6 golfers inside the top 10 because of pricing. You know, if all of the good golfers or the high price golfers finish inside the top 10, obviously we can't fit all 6 golfers inside the top 10. Anyways, that's just what the realistic optimal lineup means. Now, again, it used 47,800 for your typical optimal. Those are the 6 golfers you see on the screen that I just highlighted. I'm not going to talk about those guys. Basically, what I'm going to say is, okay, we can talk about 5 of them. Ian Poulter, Beau Hosler, Emiliano Grillo, Jordan Spieth, Sam Ryder, and then we're going to substitute out Keith Mitchell with Russell Henley. Russell Henley was 9,200, Keith Mitchell 7,200. So we're adding $2,000 to our salary, which means 49,800. We're only leaving $200 on the table. Your realistic optimal lineup would be a 10K and above golfer, 9K, 8K, 7, and 2 high 6s. So almost your traditional build of the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Looking at 2020, again, this is the year of 2019, so I just like saying that. Doesn't really matter. The optimal left $5,100 on the table. That's way too much money to leave on the table, but that is what your optimal lineup scored. And it included an 8, 7, 6, 8, 8, 6. So that's 3 8Ks, a 7K, and 2 6Ks. Wait, hold on. Did we do that right? 8, 8, 8, 7, 6, 6. That's how it was. 2 6s, 3 8s, and 1 7. Now, the GPP winning lineup actually left $1,100 on the table. So that was insane on its own right. But we can build a realistic optimal lineup. Basically, we're going to substitute Scott Harrington with Denny McCarthy, who finished 9th. And that would mean we had a 9K, 4 8Ks, and a 7K. So if you're keeping track at home, I don't think we've missed out on an 8K golfer yet. So that's why the comment topic this week is our 8Ks. And then in 2021, we had to do kind of the same thing. I think okay, so the optimal lineup actually included a golfer down here in 38th place. So this is the one time where an optimal lineup golfer finished outside the top 10. This is one time out of several weeks that I do this. We probably talked about this last year. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this is one of the first years. Actually, no, this was last year's. Never mind. So, but we probably did talk about it. You rarely are going to get your optimal lineup one golfer outside the top 10. It is possible. And obviously people talk about it in the DFS industry where it's like, don't worry about the top 10. Statistically speaking, if you only worry about the top 10, 95, 90, well, actually it's more than that. It's like 99, 98, 99% of the time, you're going to find optimal lineup builds having all 6 of your golfers inside the top 10. I wouldn't worry about the 1 or 2% of contests or whatever that don't have all 6 inside the top 10. Just throwing that out there. But this optimal lineup did include one, 38th place, and that's because Will Gordon just scored like a maniac and then made a ton of bogeys, or a couple big scores, I should say. And that probably what dropped him down. But yeah, that would use 6K, 2 10K and above golfers, a 7, and then obviously Will Gordon was a $6,400 golfer. Now, the GPP winning lineup only left $100 on the table. Those are all the golfers in blue. Not going to talk about them. The realistic optimal lineup is basically substituting 2 golfers. We're going to substitute Dustin Johnson with Brooks Koepka, and then we're going to substitute Will Gordon with Sam Burns. So that's really the only changes that happen. And really what ends up, it's basically similar to what the optimal lineup looked like. 2 10K and above golfers. Now we have 3 7s and a 6. So this is the first time we actually get rid of an 8K golfer. And in fact, an 8K did not finish inside the top 10. But I think we have a really good 8K field this week, or golfers in the 8K range. So I would definitely consider that. So this is a great segue. Obviously, we just talked about all the optimal lineups. We just talked about, salaries. Why don't we go ahead and get into the bucket system and look at our anchor buckets? So what I ended up doing for this to be an anchor bucket, and I actually updated this so it looks a little easier to digest. So I have minimum projection, maximum projection. If this minimum projection is over 0.9, and I put 0.9 because I'm giving myself a little bit of wiggle room, if you will. Like 0.9 is pretty darn close to 1. So I'm willing to include that in. But basically what I want to do is make sure the projection is at least 1 or greater. Meaning I'm telling you guys at least one of the golfers from one of the, whatever bucket we're talking about is going to finish inside the top 10. Last week we were 100% correct with this. The week before, we had 2 buckets out of 35 that we talked about, not even 36 that we talked about that didn't make it. The week before, I think we missed out on 3 buckets. We're somewhere in the 97, 98 percentile of being right with these projections. So super good. But either way, when it comes to these projections, I like to go with 0.9 and greater, because it just makes sense to me, just to give ourselves a little bit, I don't even know what to call it. It's like when you are budgeting, what is that cushion called? Can't think of it. Maybe it'll come to me, but I'm not going to waste too much more time on it. So we're going to go to salaries. And when it comes to salaries, I only have 3 buckets that we really want to pick golfers from. And the projections include the success rate of these buckets over the last, when it comes to salary, since 2017, because that was the first year at this tournament salaries were included. So it goes back to 2017. So the last 4 years of salaries, we look at the success rate of these salary groups. So obviously the 10K range, for the last 4 years, 42% of golfers in that bucket finished inside the top 10. We actually have a 75% frequency rate, meaning 1 year out of those 4 years, there wasn't a 10K inside the top 10. Typically, we have around 5 golfers inside that 10K bucket. We have 7 this year. 7 10K golfers. And it looks like that's what DraftKings is trying to do, is include more 10K golfers, which I absolutely love. I think that's a great idea. Before, I don't think there were enough of them. And I actually don't mind if you water the numbers down, because I think what ends up happening is, instead of having 13K golfers or even like 12.5 to 12, whatever, we can, lessen the max salary guy, bring them down to like 12.1, maybe 12.2, 12.3, and then we can have, more 10. That's fine. I like that. It actually helps building lineups a little bit more. Anyways, I'm not going to explain all of this with all the other buckets. I just wanted to kind of go over this so you guys can kind of do it yourself when we talk about these. But the projections include how many golfers are in the bucket this year, what the strength of field is for that bucket, like how much does it pertain to the strength of field, the success rate, the frequency rate, that all goes right into these numbers. So when it comes to our salaries, we want a 10K golfer, at least one of them. I mean, it's like 1.5. I always round down. Remember, I always round down with the minimums. I always round up with the maximums. So basically, it's like we're projecting 1 to 3 10K golfers inside the top 10. And then we're also projecting 1 to 2 inside the 8K range. And we're projecting 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3 inside the 7K range. So if we go right to the spreadsheet and first look at our 10K golfers, We're led by Sam Burns, 11-1. Then it's Scotty Scheffler, Sung J M, Tony Finau, Matthew Wolff, Cameron Smith, and Tyrrell Hatton. Now, I don't mind any of these golfers. I think what I'm going to do, I mean, you can kind of see my ranking over here. I'm probably going to exclude Matthew Wolff from this, but I might just do even ownership with the 6 remaining golfers. And quick math on that, if I'm building 100 lineups, you can basically go 6 into 16, or I should say, of the 6 golfers, you can own them in 16% of your lineups. For each of them, they can have 16% rostership, ownership, whatever you want to call it, each. So that's probably what I'm going to do, because I don't really have right now a current strong take for one or the other. Like, I really like Sam Burns this week. I like Sung J M. I actually don't mind Tony Finau, but Cameron Smith is looking really, you know, I mean, he's looking really attractive no matter what. That flow is just, it's amazing. And Tyrrell Hatton, he was 6th in my rankings last week. I kind of talked about it in my ownership rant, which I'm going to have one a little bit later. I don't mind Tyrrell Hatton this week, if I'm being honest. 4th in my model, like, and he's really good on Bermuda greens. So something to look forward to. I do like Tyrrell Hatton. So we got to pick one out of this group. To me, I guess I'm gonna go with Cam Smith. I like Cam Smith the most, but I don't mind Burns, Scheffler, Im. Like I said, I'm going even 16% on most of these guys. Maybe I'll do 14, and then the remaining percentages I'll put on Matthew Wolff. But 100% of my lineups will have at least one 10K golfer in it. That's how I'm doing it. Looking at the rest, or I should say, we want to go down to the 8K range now. So that we're looking at these golfers here. Like I said, I actually do like the 8K range this week. The rankings are pretty decent. Now, if we're going strictly by my rankings, Russell Henley at 8,900, he's 8th in my rankings. That's pretty darn good. And when we talk about this in the strategy video, he's going to leapfrog a lot of 9 and 10K golfers. So, you know, Henley to me seems like a pretty good fit here. Leishman, he's been playing some decent golf. I have a really hard time rostering him, but I don't mind it. Christian Bezuidenhout, the last 2 weeks, kind of a disappointment. He was a favorite at the Bermuda Championship, and then not so much at the Mayakoba the Mayakoba Championship, but still had a good finish. I think he finished 13th. 15th. He finished 15th. It's on the screen right now. I don't mind that. And then we also have like Cameron Tringali, Seamus Power. I like all of those guys. Last year, Lonto Griffin had his chipping yip, I think, at this tournament. So that's something to note. Those things can haunt golfers, but I feel like he's one of those that just fights through it, and he'll probably do pretty well. But I'm not going to actually highlight him. The rest of the golfers that I did highlight, I actually don't mind. Henley, Leishman, Bezuidenhout, Seamus Power, and Cameron Tringali. Those 5 golfers, I think, are really good. 8K range. 7K range, we want 1 to 2, maybe a third golfer from here. And again, if I go strictly by rankings, I mean, like, Mackenzie Hughes is one. Charlie Hoffman seems mispriced, $7,300. He's 13th in my model. That's like a Joaquin Neiman from last year, or from last week. I like that a lot. Same kind of goes with Ryan Palmer. Now, Ryan Palmer, I think both these guys are Texas boys. I think Hoffman either grew, like, yeah, he lives, or he went to college. No, he didn't. Never mind. I don't know. I think Hoffman won this tournament before. It was like one of his last victories. It might have been his last victory. God, I thought he had like Dallas ties. Maybe not. But obviously Ryan Palmer, we all know he comes from Texas. He has a couple memberships at some of the golf courses here. Yeah. Anyways. So here's your 7K range. I don't want to talk too much about each golfer. I just looked at the time. 34 minutes is running a little long for me. So I'm going to just cruise through the rest of these. I'll still show you the golfers. But that was your 10, your 9, your 8K. Or I mean your 10, your 8, and your 7K range. Those were from the buckets we thought we need to play. Anchor buckets, by the way. So like definites we want to play. Let's go back up to the top of the list and work our way down. Last year buckets, we have 3 anchor buckets. We're looking at golfers who top 20 last year, who missed the cut, and who did not play. So when it comes to top 20s, we're looking somewhere between 1 to 3. When we're looking at missed cuts, we're looking somewhere between 1 to 2. And then did not plays 2 to 4. So let's take a look at those golfers. So I think this way it's just easier. We can actually remove the buckets and just look at them. So golfers who did not play, we want 2 to 4 golfers from this range. So we can start here at the 10K range, which I actually don't mind. Or we can drop to some of these 9K golfers or some of the 8K golfers. Like we already talked about some of them. Leishman, Bezuidenhout, Power. We even talked about Cameron Smith. Maybe this is where we start. Maybe we go Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman. Hey, they won the Zurich together. Maybe they can win this tournament together. Not possible, but maybe they just change the rules somehow. I'm not going to talk about the rest of these guys, though. I'm just going to scroll through. Up to you guys. Take a look. If you like any of these guys, write them down. Again, we want 2 to 4 of these golfers. So we're going to save some time, not talk about the rest of them. Last year, 2s. These are guys who topped 20 last year. Again, we're starting with some pretty decent 10K golfers that we talked about already. Burns and Hatton. And then obviously you can see the rest of these guys. And we did talk about some of the 8K golfers. Did we? No, we didn't. McNeely and Lowry. So maybe that's where we go with 8K range. I can't scroll. Everything is on the screen. So again, screenshot it. What you like. And then last year 3s. These are the guys who missed the cut. Believe it or not, it's a bucket that matters. So guys who missed the cut or even withdrew, like a Danny Willett. So nothing greater than 7,600. So it's a lot of your 7K golfers and 6K. Maybe this is where you find some of those guys. Again, screenshot this or write down the names that you like. We're only looking for 1 to 2 of these guys. And remember, I shouldn't even say remember, but that bucket had a 0.96 minimum projection. So we're really, if we round down, this is somewhere between 0 to 2. So maybe there isn't a golfer on that list that you want to roster. Don't worry about it. You don't have to select one. So just throwing that out there. We only have 2 last week buckets to talk about. Guys who missed the cut last week and then guys who didn't play last week. Those are our top 2 buckets that have a minimum projection of at least 1. So guys who missed the cut, we're looking somewhere between 1 to 2 of these guys. And those that did not play, we're looking somewhere between 2 to 5. 2 to 5. So let's take a look at some of those guys. Let me just double check. We want 3s and 1s. Okay. So why don't we start with the last week 1s? And these are guys who did not play. Now this bucket is kind of large. Last week 1s, yeah, we have 72 golfers in this bucket. Usually we see 71. So you can see some of the guys up here at the top. It just makes me like these 3 guys even more. Burns, M, Smith. And obviously Adam Scott, I've heard his name being thrown around a lot. Some of our 8K golfers that we really didn't talk about. We did talk about Leishman, but we didn't talk about Kokrak, Griffin, or Homa. Well, we did talk about Griffin. But yeah, good choices there. We did talk about Mac Hughes. You can see some of the rest of the guys here. Again, not talking about these guys. If you see someone you like, write it down. But yeah, we want 1 to 2 of these guys. Actually, no. We want somewhere between 2 to 5 of these guys. So yeah, you're probably going to build most of your lineups with golfers in this range. These 72 golfers, if you're already creating your player pools, maybe highlight some of these guys. Say, hey, they match the buckets from SweetSpotDFS. These are the guys I want. And then the other one to talk about are guys who missed the cut last week, including a Brooks Koepka. So that's actually a good one to choose from. Now we want 1 to 2 of these guys. So maybe you're on Tringali last week and you're like, oh, man, he screwed me over. Guess what? That actually plays well this week. That's why I love the bucket system. It tells you not to worry about that miscut. You might have been a week too early with that guy. So Tringali, one of them, maybe Lowry, maybe Mito or HV3. Looking at you, Jaeger Bombs. HV3 might be the play this week. Yeah, you can look at some of the rest of the guys on here. Hoffman might, I've talked up Hoffman already. I like seeing him here. Again, we're looking for 1 to 2 golfers from this range. And I feel comfortable just saying 1 to 2. I like a lot of names here, but I'm going to limit myself to a max of 2. Maybe I'll go 3. Really close to 1 to 3. If this was like 0.05 points above what it's at right now, like 2.02, I'd go up to 3. I will say this, I do keep track of the optimal lineups, and the frequency rate's 25%, which isn't good, but I think we have a pretty decent strength of field included in this bucket. Maximum for optimal lineups just shows 1, but I think we might see 2. It's possible we see 2. But those are our last week buckets. Now, going into course history, we have 4 buckets, meaning just when it's this drowned out, or what's the word I'm looking, watered down, it really tells you don't stick to one thought or another when it comes to course history. Everything is pretty much between 1 to 2. So golfers who have that 20 to 40 range, we want somewhere between 1 to 2 golfers in that one. This is course history dating back to 2013. So if you have your own research tools and you're doing that, you can find that out pretty easy. And then course history 60 to 80. That's not good course history. But it is showing us, hey, this is actually a bucket that finishes inside the top 10 quite frequently, 83%. That's pretty good. And then we're looking at golfers who did not play last year. So again, I'm just going to fly through this one. Course history 1s, we'll start there. So we want 1s, we want 1, 2, 3, 4. And really out of all of those, the course history 3s, we want somewhere between 1 to 3. Okay. So we'll open this back up and we'll fly through this. Course history 1s, you want 1 to 2 golfers from here. Write down whoever you like. Scheffler's up there, Tringali, Hoffman. I like it. Going to 2s, again, we want 1 to 2 from here. We have Wolf, Neiman. These are guys who don't have course history, by the way. Wolf, Neiman, Bezuidenhout, Pereira. I mean, you're going to have a lot of your Korn Ferry Tour guys who graduated from there here. So obviously, definitely a choice you can make. I'm going to save course history 3s to this next one. We'll skip past it for now. Course history 4s. These are your guys that have very bad course history here. And this includes just having 1 event under your belt. This also includes having 3 to 4 events under your belt. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever, that's just the range they fall in. So you want somewhere between 1 to 2 golfers from this bucket. So is that a Kokrak? He's been playing pretty awful, but hey, he fits under this bucket. So does Power. So does Max Homa. If you're off of these guys because you don't like their course history, well, guess what? This is a bucket you want to select from. So if it changes your mind, all the better, and especially if they do well. Now, the next one, our course history 3s, we want somewhere between 1 to 3 golfers from this bucket. And it starts with Burns, goes down to Im, Finau, Cameron Smith. So I think these are probably our anchor plays, one way or the other. Like, they show up in a lot of the key buckets where we've been talking about. It doesn't make them an automatic lock to finish inside the top 10, but it just increases their chances. So I like those 4 guys. Koepka's also one that we've been talking a lot about. Seeing a lot of Mac Hughes. But anyways, as I scroll again, write it down, screenshot it, whatever. I'm not going to talk about the rest of them. But those are your course history buckets. So that leaves us, well, leaves us with 2 buckets, recent form and strokes gained. So we have 4 recent form buckets, 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, it doesn't matter how good recent form is. Everything's watered down. I'm gonna fly through this one. I don't think I'm gonna talk about any of them. I'm gonna give you the option. I'll scroll through, pause the video, write things down. This bucket's kind of large, but this is your recent form. Already forgot. 40 to 60, so not very good. The next one is 20 to 40. This is pretty good recent form. Scroll over. So Hatton and Neiman, that's pretty good. It's a smaller bucket, so you guys can pretty quick look at these guys. Recent form threes. This is really good recent form. So this is 1 to 20. So these are really good finishes. And we want somewhere between 1 to 2 from this bucket, believe it or not. That makes it easy. You could also play your anchor plays from here. A lot of guys that I've heard talked about around the industry. So one guy from here. Our last one, recent form fours. This is your bad recent form. So again, miscut last week, not a bad thing. Bad recent form, not a bad thing. We want what, 1 to 2 from this range? Yeah, 1 to 2. It's actually that 0.96, just like the miscuts. So it's possible that this could be 0, but it's a pretty good chance to be 1 to 2 golfers. Yeah. Again, write some names down, screenshot this, whatever. This leads us into our the last buckets to talk about, and it's our strokes gain buckets, which also is watered down. So we have 1 to 2 for each of these buckets. Just to remind you, strokes gained for me, I just look at off the tee and putting for most of these buckets. Strokes gained 1 is all the strokes gained stats are positive. So off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting, this is all positive. We want somewhere between 1 to 3 from that bucket. Strokes gained 2 is just positive off the tee, positive putting, and whatever stat in between. Doesn't matter if there's negative approach or negative around the green. We want somewhere between 1 to 3. Strokes gained 3, positive off the tee, negative putting, and whatever stat in between. We want somewhere between 1 to 3 as well. And also, strokes gained 4, we want somewhere between 1 to 3. That's negative off the tee and positive putting. So by all accounts, we want positive off the tee this week, and whatever stats in between. Like 1 to 3, we want, well, I mean, I guess you really want positive off the tee and positive putting. That definitely seems like you can at least get 4 golfers probably from these from the 2 buckets that I just mentioned to finish inside the top 10. And then it's probably going to fill out the rest with the remaining buckets. But yeah, positive off the tee, negative putting, probably not going to be a terrible thing to go with. And if you want to get all, strokes gained approach, like positive approach, try it out. It won't be 100%, but you probably have a better chance of finding your strokes gained guys there. And if I go through this, I can open this up, sort it by strokes gained, and you can see. So I'm just going to scroll through this, but this is how I have it all color coordinated. So all of your strokes gained 1s are this dark green color. You can see the golfers here related to it. I'm not going to talk about it, like I said, but I'm just going to slowly scroll down. Actually, why not do this? Do it on Excel. Darn. I was going to click in the scroll wheel and scroll down. Go slow. Yeah. Look at the guys. They're all by salary price, descending order. So it should be kind of easy to look at some of these golfers. Try to determine where you want to play or where you want to grab some of these guys from. Each bucket kind of has your good plays or, some of the higher price guys that are talented. Some of them, not very good. We do have 4 golfers that I have to still put in here because they open qualified. I do know of 3 of them and they don't really have stats to speak of. So not a big deal to bring them up right now. But yeah, that is all I have for the buckets. Those were your anchor buckets that we talked about. Obviously, we went through each of the players. I think that's what I want to do with these previews. As much as I want them to be short, I do want to provide as much data and information as I possibly can, just so you guys can make your own decisions. Yeah, I guess I don't have anything else to really say about that. Let me try to find, I wanted to touch up on something. Okay, so I got a question about somebody saying they don't want to worry about ownership in golf DFS anymore. Do you think ownership is more relevant in NBA and NFL DFS, or do you think this logic applies to all? So if you recall, I did this ownership rant during my strategy video of the Mayakoba Championship, and then in the review video, I basically we were validated because your top owned golfers, well, the top owned golfer finished first, and then a bunch of the other top owned golfers did really well, finished inside the top 10. I think we had like 3 golfers that were in the optimal lineup that were really high owned. It just came down to 2 golfers in the 6K range not really having any ownership that were in the optimal lineup. So to answer this, and I wanted to put in the video as opposed to writing it out because there's just too much to write. What I think happens with ownership, and really it just applies to all stat analysis when it comes to golf, is you get a lot of people from like the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, who are doing those sports and bring their data analysis, like their methods of data analysis over to golf, and thinking that it's going to be a 1-for-1 type of comparison. And it isn't. Like for MLB, you have different ballparks where the ball flies a little bit more. Some people try to equate that to some of the golf courses that are being played. Like, this is a short track, that means accuracy matters more. Or this is a long track, that means distance matters more. So when it's not that simple in golf. Like, you are going to have really talented golfers who just it doesn't make sense why they play well at certain golf courses. So like that type of stat analysis that comes over from those sports to golf also brings over that ownership strategy over here as well. Ownership strategies worked 2 to 3 years ago, maybe 3 to 4 years ago, when you had very few people talking about golf. So everybody listening to these certain people who were touting certain golfers and touting bad golfers. So like, if we're talking about Erik van Rooyen, now Erik van Rooyen's a talented golfer, but let's say a Pat Mayo or maybe a Rick Gehman talk about how talented Erik van Rooyen was. If this was 2, 3, 4 years ago, everybody would be piling on Erik van Rooyen. If you don't talk about him at all, he'd be like 4% owned, maybe. But the fact people are talking about him will bring him up to 18%. And by all accounts, he's not a good play. He was never a good play. Now we've transitioned into this day and age where everybody knows everything about anything. Like, golf now has it has much better statistics, better analysis. You're not seeing those 1-for-1 comparisons really anymore. You do, and you kind of see it from some of the same people who are still, people garnering more viewers on YouTube, which is, I get it, very entertaining, but puzzling nonetheless. Why this analysis still goes on. But I think that's why ownership still is a thing when people are trying to leverage. I will provide one like positive note when it comes to ownership. If you're like in a 100-man contest and it's, like anything north of $10 entry, you're going to get some of the most conservative lineups that people are going to build, because no one wants to lose $10. So you're going to get a large ownership of people like building lineups instead of going like Burns, Ortiz, Hughes. Why don't we grab Cameron Tringali? So we're already like north of where we need to be. We will have to drop down to someone like a Tom Hoagie and maybe a Steven Yeager in order to make this lineup work for price tags. You're not going to see this in some of those high entry fees. those high entry fee contests. Instead, what you're going to see is like a Smith, Kokrak, probably a Homa, and then you're going to get like 3 set, golfers here in the 7K range. So like most people, when they listen to touts or stuff like that, if one of their golfers that they're kind of on, let's say maybe a Chad Ramey at $7,500, you're going to get a huge influx of people saying he's the safe bet. We're playing Chad Ramey. So then in those high entry fees, you're going to get a ton of ownership. You're going to get like 30%, 35% on some of those. That's where you can leverage. The less amount of people in the contest, the higher entry fee, that's where ownership leverage really actually plays a big part. But don't get me wrong. I will say that, and that's my positive thing, but I will also say this. Those people are bad at playing fantasy golf. Like you and I, we're probably not putting that much, that many entries into those contests or even at all. I'm a low stakes player. I'm not putting a lot of money into those $10 contests and above. But some of you guys might be. I can see where ownership, pivots and stuff like that matter there. But when it comes to GPPs, like the dime time or the quarter arcade or even the $1 short game or even the $5 drive the green, if you aren't like picking the right plays, and I get it, it's really difficult to do that. If you're not, oh my gosh, like last week, Victor Hovland was the man you wanted to select, or Justin Thomas. Both those guys finished first and third. The writing was on the wall. I haven't yet looked at marquee tee time pairings because I don't have the tee time information in front of me, but it would not surprise me if a Cameron Smith, Sung J M, Scotty Scheffler, or Sam Burns wins this event. Now, I understand they're 10K and above. They have the better, or they have better odds to do that, but that wouldn't surprise me. Who I don't think is going to win this is a Taylor Gooch. But people are going to play Taylor Gooch because they saw last week he played well. And people are going to get off of someone like Aaron Wise. Now, for me, in my rankings, Aaron Wise is better than Gooch. So, man, I kind of went on a tangent there. Let me try to tie this back. In GPPs, you're more likely going to have like a Burns and a Wise and already hamstring your lineups. I mean, you're allocating $20,000 to these guys. But with that, you're probably going to need a Russell Henley because he's probably going to finish 3rd or 4th or 5th. Now, that's not me actually telling you that that's what's going to happen, but to me, he has one of the better chances to do that. So now I have 3 players that have to split $20,000 amongst because this pretty much equals $30,000. That's where you're going to get, like, the next 3 players is what's going to determine your success in a GPP. Like, it doesn't matter who you select for your first 3 guys up here. It does not matter whatsoever when it comes to ownership. If you happen to pivot from a guy who's high owned here to a guy who's low owned, and then that guy does well, that's all luck. That's all chance. Like I said in my other ownership video, you're picking the better loser. That's essentially it when you do it ownership. But if you're going to take a stake and say, you know what, Cameron Smith, 3rd in my model, but he is the sixth price guy, his value is better than what he's priced at. Like, his ranking is better than what he's priced at. I'm going to fucking load up on Cameron Smith. Sorry for those that don't like swearing. I'm going to load up on Cameron Smith. I'm going to load up on him more than I'm going to do it on Matthew Wolff. And most of you guys out there saw Matthew Wolff's performance last week and absolutely loved it. But my stats are telling me, no, Matthew Wolff isn't the guy. I'm not fading him because you guys are owning him. I'm fading him because he's bad in my model. And I will live on that because I'm picking my best golfers. I don't care about ownership. In fact, I know you're going to probably need a 10 And then you're gonna have to mix it up with maybe a 9-8 or maybe 2 8s. And then you're gonna probably have to get like 2 7s and a 6. Salary rise. So a 10K, maybe a 9, maybe 2 8s, or maybe a 9 and an 8, 2 7s, maybe 3 7s, and a 6. You're gonna need that type of build. Who you choose down here is probably gonna matter way more about you winning a GPP than anybody at the top. Like, don't get me wrong, missed cuts, that's gonna screw you. That's gonna screw you no matter where you do it. But last week, to get to the optimal lineup, you needed a Danny Lee, and you needed an Andrew Landry. I think Landry was $6,100. So like, Trey Mullinax, 62. I heard Pat Mayo talking about him. But how about Sam Ryder? My 79th ranked golfer. I'm sure that price is a little off because you have a couple hundred ranked golfers just above him. 49th ranked guy, Zach Johnson, 61. Maybe that's your guy this week. And he probably will be. He might be high owned. So be it. And I shouldn't even say high owned. He might be high owned for a 6K golfer, which is like 4%. You want to know what's going to happen with that 4%? If you add up all your percentages together, even if you're like 150% of total ownership, this 4% means you're different than 96% of the other lineups. Like that's something you have to think about. It's who is your lowest owned guy, and what's the difference between that and the rest of the entrants or the entries. Yeah, I just looked at the time. It's way over an hour over. What not an hour over, but it's over an hour. That's all I have with ownership. I mean, you guys, I'm not an expert in any of this. This is just what I see. I'm very analytical. The ownership thing, I understand the thought process behind it. I just think you're a coward for picking your lineups that way. Like it's weird. And I know people have won millions of dollars off of this. Like, is it Drew Matthews? Yeah, Drew Matthews. At the Masters, he pivoted to Patrick Reed, but he did it through the cascade method. I think his core guy was like Adam Scott or something at $8,900, and he just cascaded one of his players to Patrick Reed, who was like 8,600, I think, if I remember correctly. So he gave up $300 to whatever, and that lineup in its own won the Millie Maker. You got to pick all 6 guys correctly. That type of pivoting to me isn't so much pivoting based off of ownership. That's just, grabbing someone. It's really the fastest way to build lineups. It's the easiest way to build lineups, and it kind of diversifies your player pool. It does that easier. That's just you not really knowing why you're selecting someone other than saying it fits inside my lineups, which I'm not going to criticize because guy won $1 million. But in a way, I would take $1 million. Put it that way. I'd take $1 million, but in a way, it's just like, what did I do to win $1 million? Like, some people might think that's a solid strategy and will live with that, and that's fine. For me, it's just like, okay, you just kind of flipped a coin up in the air and hope it landed on heads, Yeah, that's just, again, my take on it. It just doesn't compute with me to do that. I just rather select my players and go there, and that's just my way of doing it. Like I totally get it. Everyone has their own way to do it. I'm not going to criticize. I just don't like when people make it like rule. You need to look at ownership in order to gain leverage. No, you don't. You don't. Find something that gets you on the Danny Lees of the world. That's going to give you leverage. And it's going to make you way sharper than anybody else in this industry. So that's my 2 cents. Shot like Harden. I forget what your name is. I think I have an email, but yeah, that was my long-winded rant, but oh well. I think it was well worth it for my last preview video of the year. Again, a reminder, getting some dental work done, some surgery that is going to probably take me out until the next year. I mean, I'll do some strategy videos most likely. It won't take me a year to recover. It won't take me until January to recover, but no videos for the RSM Classic. And another reminder, we've got giveaways. So remember the subscriber giveaway. We got to hit 275 subscribers. You see it on the screen right there. We're at 257. So if I do my math correctly, I think we only need 18 left, in order to get that. That means we'll give away $10 to any entries or whoever enters into that giveaway. Also, Prize Picks giveaway. There's a link in the description. Sign up using the promo code SweetSpot. Put at least $20 in, and you'll get into an entry for that. That's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the little rant there at the end, if you even got to that point. Other than that, I'll see you in the strategy video tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, bye.